It was unprovoked. But this is what Russian President Vladimir Putin unleashed on Ukraine.
Hamas war and the release of a long-awaited report on whether Israel has violated international law in its use of U.S. weapons in Gaza. ABC's Mary Alice Park.
More than 10,000 pro-Palestinian protesters marched through the streets of Malmo to protest Israel's inclusion in the show.
The 2020s. It seems like the world is just getting worse by the year, doesn't it? First a virus, next a global quarantine, then a war between Russia and Ukraine, and now in 2024, an ongoing war between Israel and Palestine. While the virus and the quarantine chapter have left our consciousness, the current wars are in the forefront of everybody's minds. The world is slowly getting more chaotic and violent. It's obvious our 16th goal of the SDGs is more relevant as ever now. I bet you must be wondering what the Goal 16 actually is. Allow me to elaborate. Now, Goal 16... Wait! Forget Goal 16. What even are the SDGs? Ha! Glad you asked. According to the official UN website, the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals, or SDGs for short, are a set of goals all UN members agreed on to try and work towards a more peaceful and prosperous future. There are 17 goals in total, all of them focusing on different problems the world is facing. The UN plans and hopes to successfully achieve these goals by the year 2030, which is in 6 years, by the way, depending on when you're watching this. Whether the UN will succeed by 2030 is still up for debate, but for now, let's stay hopeful. Now, Goal 16 is all about promoting peaceful and inclusive societies, hence the dove and the leaf, providing justice for all and building effective, accountable, and inclusive institutions. We should all be able to be free of fear and feel safe. Unfortunately, due to current events, it has become more difficult to achieve this goal by 2030. Isn't peace already a widespread idea? Compared to goals like no hunger or gender equality, Goal 16 seems pretty inexplicit. And, I mean, I live in a country where peace is already part of the Constitution, so why was it even considered as one of the main goals in the SDGs? This goal is more important than you would think and actually affects everyone, even you, kind sir. When a country is affected by a lot of violence and insecurity, it can have a very destructive impact on the country's development. Peace is important for the social and economical development. Without peace, society would be very violent, and that would hinder the country's progress and will result in the loss of lives and resources. Justice is just as essential for protecting individual rights and resolving disputes. We have to make sure the vulnerable population is not marginalized or mistreated. That's why when wars break out, all countries end up being affected by it. Yeah, great and all. It's an important goal and affects all of us. Yeah. But what's the use of knowing when it's impossible to achieve this goal? What's the UN even doing to achieve it? You've seen the state the world is in right now. It doesn't look like the UN has any ideas, and it certainly doesn't seem like they know what they're doing. Okay, yeah, I'll admit, the current situation doesn't make achieving Goal 16 look possible, and it only seems like the odds are getting worse. According to an article by the UNDP released on September 2023, the UN had finally released a report regarding Goal 16. The article states that Goal 16 is progressing much slower than the UN would have wanted, and Goal 16 is also the goal with the least amount of data available. The countries may be making progress in finding new methods in achieving this goal, but they are still far from being close to doing something and successfully achieving these goals. Many key findings highlighting this report show that things haven't gotten better, but progressively worse. Violence is on the rise, there is an increase in detected child trafficking cases, access to justice is still limited, corruption affects businesses and individuals, gender inequality is still prevalent, there is an increase of violence against human rights defenders and journalists, and discrimination is still widespread. It just seems like everything is getting worse, and that we'll never achieve this goal, especially by 2030. All hope isn't lost yet, though. Thanks to this report, we now not only have more data to be able to achieve peace, justice, and equality, but we'll also be able to achieve other targets across other SDGs. This report is a clear wake-up call to the masses that we have to do something, and now, to achieve many more peaceful, just, and inclusive societies. Luckily, aside from the report, the UN also had other plans to achieve Goal 16. To achieve Goal 16, the UN placed significant importance on 12 targets. These 12 targets surrounding peace, justice, and inclusion are issues the UN has discussed and prioritized during the consultation and drafting process of the 2030 Agenda. If you search for it on the official UN website, you can find out ways how you yourself are able to help the UN achieve this goal. These targets range from significantly reducing violence to broadening and strengthening participation in institutions in the developing countries, and even to promoting and enforcing non-discriminatory laws and policies for sustainable development. In conclusion, achieving peace, justice, and equality isn't an easy task, and we are still far from successfully achieving this. But there is still hope, and there are ways in which we can participate and help the UN to achieve Goal 16. On the UN website under Goal 16, you can find ways to help achieve this goal, like donating to a Goal 16 charity, or instead of current events, you can support Ukraine. However, the best thing you can do to help keep the peace and justice in your country is to vote. Voting is, believe it or not, the best way for you to actively help achieve Goal 16. Even just simply voting within your local town will help. By voting, you can make sure to bring the right people to power, the people who can ensure peace and justice will be brought to your country. By voting, you can also make sure that at the very least, the power will not be given to the wrong people. Every vote counts whether you believe it or not. One vote can have an impact on your country and may also decide the fate of your country. So go out there and vote. Let's help ensure peace and justice one step at a time.